All right. Hey guys, my name is Austin Broder. I'm going to be coming to you guys' class in a little bit to teach you guys about animation and using Maya to create new sculptures, to learn how to kind of incorporate it into your art. We're going to explore some ways that we can maybe cross this and bridge this gap between the digital and a physical art form and see what kind of new stuff we can kind of experiment around with and see what we can do. So I'm going to go over here and show you guys a little bit about the interface, a little bit about modeling and the basics of that, because I want to kind of springboard you guys forward. So when I come in and show up in person in the classroom, we can have a little bit of a head start. So I'm going to join over here. Feel free to follow along. I think it's installed on your guys' computer, so let's go check it out.
All right, so this is basically what you'll see when you open up Maya. There may be another window, and you can just kind of close that. It's a welcome to Maya type window. And you might be a little bit overwhelmed when you first open this up. Don't be. It's super simple once you start to realize what the important parts are. So let's just break it down into those parts. The most important part is this big giant window right here. The main event is our viewport, and this is where we our view into our scene, which is what Maya calls files. Like they're called a scene. And we'll bring objects into the scene, we'll sculpt, we'll animate, we'll do it all inside of this viewport. This is our window into this world. Then over here on the right, you'll see it probably is already open, but if it's not, this very, very top right button right here is our channel box button, and that brings up our channel box. It's a little toolbar on the side, and what the channel box is for is to tell us information about the object we have selected. You can see right now we don't have anything selected, so it's empty. But when we do have something to select, you'll see transformation, you'll see rotation, scale, or any other information about that object that we might want to know. Up here at the top, there's all these menus. We actually are going to be using those a lot, quite a bit. And I have students that like to come over here and grab this green button to make the window full screen, but you can see it hides all those menus and you have to hold your mouse up here to reveal them. I'm not a big fan of that. I prefer to keep it just a full screen so I can keep those menus visible, just so we're kind of on the same page for that. Let's see what else. Like I said, Maya can do a lot of different things. It's modeling, texturing, rendering, lighting, animation. There's so much, and so there's tons of menus for that. Um, and it's actually grouped those menus relating to each one of those tasks that you're trying to do. So in the top right, you'll also see that yours is probably set on modeling. So I'm going to go ahead and set mine to modeling, and now we'll probably have the same sub menus up here at the top. I wouldn't worry about that quite yet. We're just looking at stuff right now. But so let's go ahead and you can see I'm moving my camera around. So I'm going to show you guys how to move your camera around. All right, so this is actually what I think is one of the most important lessons to learn, which is how to operate your camera, how to move it, because I want you guys to feel really comfortable while you're using it, because it is the tool that you use the most while you're working in this. So the ideas are simple, but practice, practice, practice. Constantly move your camera, constantly get just comfortable with it is a very powerful thing. So you'll see if you click and drag around in the viewport, you're actually just trying to select things. This is drawing a selection box. So anything inside that box would be selected. So instead, I actually want to move my camera around. And the way you do this is you'll hold Alt and left mouse button. So with your pointer finger, click, and that will orbit. So this rotates your camera around the focused object, which right now is the center of this kind of imaginary grid. So I'm spinning my camera around. It's called an orbit. So left mouse button, Alt and left mouse button. So Alt and middle mouse button, if you click down on the scroll wheel, we actually need this 3-button mouse. So if you click on that scroll wheel, you will do a pan. You can see I'll pan around. So Alt and middle mouse button will pan. So try both of those. You can see I can kind of move my camera around and do this. Yes, good. All right, so then if I hold Alt and right mouse button, I will zoom in and out. So Alt and left mouse button with your pointer finger on the left side is orbit. Middle mouse button is pan. Right mouse button is zoom. Now you'll see when I'm using the zoom, I like to drag from left to right instead of some people are more inclined to try and drag up and down. It works, but it's not as effective. Maya likes going from less on the left and more on the right. So if you click and drag left and right, that'll be a better result. Some people will notice if you use the scroll wheel, you can actually also zoom. That's another great way to zoom. The reason that I kind of showed this instead is because as you click through each one of those wheel increments, you'll see that it kind of jumps. You don't have a fine control. So if you're working on something and you want to have fine control, then you would have a better time trying to zoom like this. You can kind of very fine adjustments with your camera, and it's good to have more control than less with Maya. So take some time and get familiar with this. I like to kind of try and look at each corner of the grid. Let's see, try and get that in the center of my screen, then I'll zoom out, and maybe I'll try and come over here to look at this corner. What you'll notice though is this is actually skewing where the center of my interest is of the camera as it orbits around. You'll see now that I'm trying to orbit, I'm using my left mouse button and Alt. It's got this weird focus point, so it's kind of rotating around weird. If you press F, it'll frame selected, or everything in, if you have something selected, it will frame the selected, making it the center of this camera's interest, so I'll spin around it. Or if you have nothing selected, it will frame the whole scene, all of the objects in your scene, which right now is just this grid. So F is to frame selected. Try spending a lot of time getting familiar with this camera. It will help you out a lot. It'll avoid a lot of frustration down the line.